Brad, when we wrapped up the first part of this conversation, you were talking about having 95% of customers outside of the United States. How would regulatory clarity in the United States change that percentage in your mind?
Well, I think you'd see more and more US companies willing to lean in and engage and embrace, hey, these are new technologies, they can solve problems. When there's not regulatory clarity, they don't want to take that risk because there's a little bit, whether we can say it's 1%, 10% or higher, there is some risk that the US government decides a path that could be not good for cryptocurrencies. And so I think it's holding back the whole industry. And as you and I have talked about before, the earliest days of the internet here in the United States, the United States led because there was regulatory clarity. Investment flowed in, companies, I mean, as you know well, the internet, it's the reason why we have the Amazons and Googles here in the United States today. We can, I believe, have that with the blockchain and crypto industry as well, but it requires that clarity, that certainty for investors to continue to invest.
But not all digital assets or digital currencies, as you've discussed, are being treated the same here. What would it mean specifically for Ripple and for XRP to simply have clarity over how regulators are viewing XRP itself? How much growth could you see instantly?
Yeah, it's really a good point, because I think what we have seen is in the United States, despite being a US company, is that there's an uneven playing field. We have taken steps as a US government to advantage Bitcoin, to advantage Ether. And the reality is those are technologies that are today, because of the mining concentration, the pools of mining capacity, over 60, 70% of that mining capacity is in China. And so we've advantaged those technologies. So here in the US, what we simply have sought is a level playing field so we can compete, kind of on that level playing field and compete effectively. I think you'd see, a lot more adoption from US players of these technologies if there were that certainty, and, as an objection to sale, you would avoid that going forward.
Just give me a sense, if you can, sort of percentage growth in the number of customers that you have today as a result of getting that clarity and them saying, okay, regulators are happy, we're joining the network, we're on board.
I can't say an exact number. The way I think about that is, we publicly shared, we've done over 2 million payment transactions over RippleNet, and about 20% of those are happening through XRP. Certainly that 20% I would expect to increase because banks, payment providers, financial institutions would get more comfortable with, oh, I'm more comfortable using these technologies. So I would expect the percentage to grow. And again, I would expect the overall pool to grow because people would say, okay, great, I understand that there is regulatory certainty for Ripple, for the technology stack that Ripple uses.
So when are you going to make the decision? What are you hearing from the SEC and from regulators at this moment? Because I know you're talking to them in the United States and globally. What are you hearing specifically from United States regulators? And when will you make the decision to go, you know what, we can't hang around any longer. We have to move our HQ somewhere else. Is it next year?
Well, I'm super hopeful that as the Biden administration starts making decisions about their appointments and overall policy decisions, I think you're seeing improved tailwinds and improved, in some cases, clarity. But things like, as you and I discussed earlier, climate change, things about CO2 emissions are going to become more important. The understanding and empathy for the immigrant community, I think, will become higher on the radar. And look, at the core, one of the things that Ripple is solving, one of the things that XRP is extremely good at solving, is to reduce the cost of those remittance payments. As you and I have talked before, the average payment cost for a remittance is around 7%. And that's 7% for a population that can at least afford it. So we haven't put a strict timeline on when we'll make a decision. I think, I am waiting to see what dynamics change associated with the Biden administration beginning their term in office. And I'm optimistic that that will actually improve, where things sit for the XRP community broadly.
Okay, let's talk about what the rise in levels of crypto, you've talked about it too, the rise in institutional interest in crypto too has meant specifically for Ripple this year?
It's a big deal. I mean, I'm always impressed that you cover this well. And when you see names like Stan Druckenmiller Paul Tudor Jones, when you see those names leaning into an asset class they haven't previously been involved with, that builds confidence for everybody. That builds trust, certainty. And I think you're going to see players like that continue to invest, get more involved. The fact that MicroStrategy, which, this has been covered well, but think about this. They put $425 million of their balance sheet into crypto. I think that's a very big deal. The one thing I think you will see more and more, however, is people understanding that when you only invest in one asset, you have concentration risk. And investors like Stan Druckenmiller have taught us that diversification matters. Diversification reduces risk. And so I think you'll continue to see, Bitcoin I think will certainly lead and certainly has led. I think you'll see increased diversification and understanding of the value of diversification given some of the risks of just holding one asset or one stock.
Interesting point. So greater knowledge about the crypto space and awareness in the crypto space benefits other digital assets outside of Bitcoin, simply because, to your exact point, all investors, it's a 101. Diversification is key.
For sure. And again, I think these are lessons we have learned over decades from some of the smartest investors in the world who now are seeing crypto. And you and I have talked about this. The inflation dynamics when you have currencies like the US dollar being inflated by printing trillions of dollars to stimulate the economies, both here in the United States, in the Eurozone, you're seeing it happen globally. And I think you are going to continue to see people say, well, why do I want to hold a dollar? Companies like MicroStrategy saying, why do I want to hold that dollar? One of my closest friends from college, he runs a small business in the middle of the country. He called me earlier this week and saying, hey, we're holding tens of millions of dollars on our balance sheet. We're thinking about whether or not we should hold crypto. I think it's an incredible sign, a harbinger of things to come when you see that happen, not just at the MicroStrategies, but across companies across the United States.
So did they invest? Did they put that money into crypto?
I believe they're going to. I made some introductions for them.
Just wonder what proportion of the broader business or the portfolio that is going into crypto.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, what he was talking about is about 10% of their balance sheet, saying that they've got tens of millions of dollars of US dollars. And it is a Midwest company, a very successful company. And they're saying, look, I hold a lot of dollars. There's a little bit of benefit given the dynamics we're seeing. And I'm sure this exact same conversation the leadership team at MicroStrategy had in making the decision to, at this point, just buy Bitcoin. But I think we're going to see that conversation happen more and more.
I want to hone in on the evolution of what I see going on at Ripple, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. We've seen some management changes, but I also see sort of the building of a facility that plugs directly into exchanges, sourcing liquidity, rebalancing payment flows globally. Am I sort of on the right track?
Yeah, absolutely. We made a series of changes over the course of the summer, partly because I had a lot of direct reports to get the company more focused around what we're doing with RippleNet, but also what we're doing across other XRP dynamics. We call a team called RippleX. And so we simplified the management team a bit. And to your point, our vision really is, how do we make this plug and play and as simple as possible to plug in and take advantage of global liquidity across the XRP ecosystem? It is so clear to me more than ever that XRP's speed, its scalability, its incredibly low cost per transaction dynamics make it perfectly suited for the problem we are solving with it. And again, we're seeing that the community behind XRP, the other use cases, we're seeing that grow every week.
Are you open to using other digital assets, though, even stable coins, other stable coins to facilitate the rebalances?
I mean, the short answer is yes. Stable coins are a little bit different and unique because even if you have a stable coin that is dollar denominated, well, you still have that cross currency problem. And so we also, though, did design our products to be efficient such that if we entered a market where XRP had very little liquidity, that we could use a different digital asset where there might be more liquidity, the spreads would be tighter. We haven't yet found a need to do that, but certainly when we think about solving a customer problem, we do want to put the customer first. And if we found there was a market somewhere on the globe where the efficiency between XRP and that fiat currency weren't a tight spread, we might look at using a different digital asset.
Yeah, it's all about efficiency.
But luckily, as I said,
100%.
we haven't needed that because XRP has been so efficient.
And of course, greater liquidity narrows that spread. So the whole thing is sort of cyclical and self-serving. If you can boost liquidity, you reduce that margin anyway. You're also offering a line of credit program to customers, I've seen as well. The hope is that they can therefore deploy capital anywhere in the world. Who's the ideal customer and how do you see this working? Because it seems like you can sign up for this line of credit, get access to this incredibly quickly.
Yeah, that is exactly the vision behind this. We want to help our customers grow more quickly. And there's a lot of our customers that are, smaller than the MoneyGrams or Asimovs of the world. We have some very large customers. We have some customers that, frankly, might serve one corridor in one country. And what we found is that they need working capital to expand. One of the problems of this 50-year-old payment system that we all count as our infrastructure today is that you have to pre-fund accounts in that other currency, and you're holding that other currency. What we allow customers to do is to not pre-fund, and by using line of credit, they can actually pay us 30 days later for payments they're already doing. That allows them to grow more quickly. Our customers have loved it, and really it came from just listening to our customers and hearing our customers, the demand they had of what they wanted to see to help them grow.
You mentioned the magic word there, which was MoneyGram, and I wanted to ask you about that. You just this week sold a stake or a piece of the stake in MoneyGram for a tidy profit. And I do remember the accusations in the beginning that you overpaid for the interest in MoneyGram just to have them use the name, which is an interesting point too. What's going on here? Is this just a bit of profit taking?
We are still a significant shareholder in MoneyGram, and I expect we will be for an extended period of time. This was simply a recognition that we didn't need to own the percentage of the company we did own. We owned about 12 million shares, which was north of 15% of the company when you on a fully diluted basis. And we simply looked at it as, do we need to own that percentage if we were to reduce, given how well MoneyGram has done, given how well the partnership has gone, that we felt like we're going to reduce that a small amount. And so we're selling about 4 million shares and announced that publicly, I think, just last week.
I heard a rumor as well that Western Union, obviously big competitor, has realized how steep the competition here and has signed up as a customer. Any truth to that rumor, Brad?
We are very cautious about, we talk about our customers when they're ready to talk about it. There's lots of rumors out there about, various customers Ripple has been working with. Some of them are true, some of them are not true. And so I'm gonna dodge that question. Not very effectively.
I can see you doing that. But that's not a no, I notice. And I'm noting that down. Ask about that next time. Talk to me about Flare Networks. How should XRP holders, customers of Ripple and the platform view what you're doing here?
Well, in this case, it's not so much about what our customers, this is a very exciting startup called Flare Networks. They're doing some very interesting stuff with something called the Spark token, but it is really distinct from what Ripple is doing. And to me, it's just a further example of people's recognition that XRP is such an efficient digital asset. And as you and I've talked about, utility will drive the long-term value of any digital asset. Seeing a company like Flare Networks and seeing them use the XRP network in various ways, I think is an opportunity to go forward. But it doesn't affect RippleNet customers and how we are using ODL for our customers. It's largely separate from that.
Yeah, I should make the point, sorry. It is a startup, but it is Ripple funded, which is why I was sort of drawing the connection. What does it mean? What does it mean for XRP holders?
Yes.
What does it mean for XRP holders specifically?
I think XRP holders are deservedly excited about what Flare is doing. I'm excited about what Flare is doing. As we've said, anytime you're seeing real utility solving a real problem, and I think Flare has carved out an interesting niche. And I think as they move forward with this airdrop of Spark tokens, I'm optimistic for them. I've met the management team there. I think they're very talented. I think they have a clear vision of the problem they're going to solve.
We've got like 2 weeks to the airdrop, and as far as I saw even today, some exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, are not participating. Why? Any concerns?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I certainly think the Flare management team is very talented, and I would defer to them on, what's going on. Ripple is not part of those conversations, and so we're watching with interest, and certainly we want to be supportive and helpful, but we're letting them take the lead.
So, and are there any plans to plug RippleNet into Flare functionality? You can see where I'm leading here. These are all leading questions.
Yeah, nothing I'm ready to announce today.
Oh, but that's also not a no. I'm just thinking in terms of this sort of building this new liquidity engine.
Yeah.
There's possibility here.
You and I have talked about, I've always kind of viewed Ripple as, Ripple is to payments as Amazon was to books, where Amazon started with just doing books. And my vision for Ripple isn't just around cross-border payments. The underlying vision really has been, how do we do things to enable an internet of value? How do we do things to enable value to move the way information moves today? And that's going to be a multi-year, maybe decade journey, where there's going to be a lot of different use cases across different transactions that aren't just about payments. Maybe it's about insurance efficiency. There's a lot of transactions out there, and the core, any efficient blockchain is allowing two parties to transact without that middle transaction. That reduces cost, that improves speed. Those are all good dynamics. I think you're going to see these technologies like the XRP ledger applied to a lot of different use cases over time.
Okay, I'm going to wrap up the interview. You have a lot going on. Fast forward 2 years. Where's Ripple? That I hope Ripple is, right where it is geographically as a proud U.S. company. Yes, first and foremost.
I certainly think that by that time we'll have the regulatory clarity and certainty that we have sought, that we have in countries like the UK and Japan and Singapore. But I hope we will certainly have that here in the U.S. I think you're going to see dramatic increases in volume. The growth rates we are seeing, even during this pandemic, where I think overall economic growth is more muted, we're still seeing dramatic growth on a year-on-year basis. And look, not that many years ago, people were saying, "Oh, well, it's just a small part of what Swift does." Every year at these growth rates, every year that we grow, you're seeing more and more adoption, more use cases, more customers. And so I'm very bullish and excited about what's going on at Team Ripple, and really proud of the team and what they have gotten done during this pandemic.
And will you have IPO'd?
2 years. I think the likelihood is we will, I think 2 years from now, the likelihood is Ripple would be in the public markets.